This is Startup Biz Coach Radio, formerly known as Mornings with Terry, and we're empowering entrepreneurs right from the start. Find us at thestartupbizcoach.com every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern with your host, Terry Clay. Are you ready to get this business started?
Hey, this is Terry Clay, and I am back with another episode of the Startup Biz Coach Radio. Hey, this is Terry Clay, and I am back with another episode of the Startup Biz Coach Radio. Yeah. So we do this call. We're back on the call again, another day. We do this call every single day, Monday through Friday, right here from the blog, the startupbizcoach.com. And, just because you didn't tune in at the Startup Biz Coach, you might be on Stitcher, on Speaker, on iTunes, on YouTube. We still congratulate you and thank you for coming back each and every day, Monday through Friday at the Startup Biz Coach Radio. So if you're new to the call, you've never been on here, you just found us on Google or something like that, we are here to empower entrepreneurs from the start. And we're helping entrepreneurs right in the beginning phases. And, a lot of times people come to this college not necessarily because they're brand spanking new in business, but still in the beginning phases, still trying to see their way through. I remember when I was in business, I started off doing something else. So sometimes in the beginning phases, you may have one idea of entrepreneurship, then head to something else. So we're here to help you right in the beginning, whatever it is that you are doing. So what we do here on this call is we interview successful entrepreneurs each and every day, Monday through Thursday. And then on Fridays, I do the call myself. I am the Startup Biz Coach, and I do a lot of, tips on things to help you in the startup phases. Like last week I did how to start a blog, or 10 ways or reasons why you should be blogging and stuff like that. So I don't know what I'm going to do this Friday yet. I just kind of comes to me. I'm actually helping somebody start their own eBay store, so I may do something like that. But we shall see. So just stay tuned and come back on Friday to find out. But let me tell you something. We have some powerful entrepreneurs on this call every single day. I mean, I am blown away by the interviews. I never would have thought in the beginning when I started doing this call. I did it because I heard some millionaire bloggers say you should do a podcast one day a week, and I started doing it one day a week, went up to 4 days a week, now 5 days a week, and it just went from there. And so what I always say about starting a business or starting with something, just take the steps and just start walking, or start doing, or start taking the action. You may not know what you're going to do, but when you get to a certain point, then you're going to know to turn left or turn right, or it's going to just start forming. But if you don't do anything, if you don't take any actions, guess what? You're not going to. Nothing can happen without any actions. Faith without works is dead, right? So, but we do this call every single day, and we interview successful entrepreneurs, and today is no different. But here on the Startup Biz Coach Radio, we allow our guests to introduce themselves. So please tell us who you are and what do you do.
Hi, I'm April Adams, and I'm an emotional fulfillment specialist. I'm also a life coach, and I am an author. I just recently released my book, Essence, Ending Emptiness, Finding Fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And essentially what I do is I just help women and also, a few open-minded men to find their way out of their own personal misery and into a more fulfilling, happy life.
Okay. Let me ask you, so what's an intuitive life coach? What's that mean?
So essentially, I use my intuition while I'm doing life coaching with people. So if there's something I intuitively pick up on while I'm working with them, I use that to assist in the coaching itself. But I also empower them to learn how to use their own intuition. And that's something I want to share with you guys today, too, because I feel like that's huge in business, to be able to tap into your intuition and figure out how it shows up for you personally.
Wow. So give us some tips on what we could do to tap into, especially with these, with our listeners to be in the startup phases of business. They really probably need to know some how to deal with some intuition. So tell us, give us some tips on that.
Yeah. Well, I know in our culture that most of the time, if you think of the word intuition, you start thinking about psychics. And the top thing that people think of with psychics is somebody who has visions or somebody who speaks to the dead. And this is different. Some people will have visions. Some people are going to talk to the dead, but that's not where we're going with this. And everybody has their own unique abilities. And it has to do with the way that you learn and the way that your brain personally works. So if you think in pictures, you're more likely to be a person who intuitively sees visions because you think in that way, and that's how it shows up for you. But most people don't think in pictures. They think in words. And so their intuition is likely to come in through words. And the least recognized but most common psychic ability is called having an empathic ability. And it's where you actually feel what's going on with the person you're tuned into. So this can be somebody that you're having a conversation with, somebody you're thinking about, or somebody that you're intentionally tuning into and thinking, what's up with this person. And it shows up in your own body as though you have an issue or an emotion or some pain, but it's not actually yours, it's theirs, and it's just you picking up on it. And the way this works, it's not this, crazy voodoo thing. There's a very scientific, reasoning behind this. With Einstein and E equals MC squared, he determined that every single thing is energy. Thoughts are energy, pain is energy. Each individual situation and thing has its own unique vibrational frequency. So a toothache has its own frequency. A breakup has its own frequency. A heart attack has its own frequency. And so basically we are all capable of picking up on those vibrational frequencies in our own energy field, and our brain translates that however our brain works. So if you are a physical intuitive or an empath, you may be speaking to somebody who has a toothache, and you don't know consciously that they have a toothache, and you begin to have a toothache as well.
Wow.
And so it's a pretty interesting phenomenon once you become aware of the fact that this is something that's going on with you. You can kind of use it to your advantage. And a lot of times, I remember years ago when I used to do nails in a spa, I would go out to greet my client, and I would occasionally have this sudden feeling of, oh, she doesn't like me. And what I was actually picking up on, because as I would, have a conversation with this person, I came to find out that they would be really insecure themselves. So what I was picking up on was their fear that I was judging them. And it was showing up in my own head as, oh, this person doesn't like me. But really what was going on was they were worried about whether I was judging them or didn't like them or had some kind of negative thought about them because they had that level of insecurity. So learning to recognize these abilities in yourself and to be able to use that when you're interacting with someone, and to recognize that a lot of times the things that you're thinking and feeling don't even necessarily belong to you, goes a huge, long way toward helping you to figure out how you're going to interact with other people.
So when you were saying,
practice. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, what you were saying was that when you felt like she didn't like you, it was her feeling something else, and you just and you picked up on that feeling, that something else, and you took it as that she was saying that she didn't like you, or it was just that you felt something.
I was feeling her insecurity. And so for me, insecurity would translate as, I don't think this person likes me.
I got you.
So I was basically feeling her fear that I didn't like her, and it was showing up as mine. because at the time I didn't know that, I was feeling her stuff. I thought that I was feeling that way, but the reason that I later understood that it was not mine was because I didn't have that with most people. It would just be very specific people who really presented as insecure that I would have that immediate reaction to. So it was like my brain kind of trying to show me this person is insecure.
I got
But unfortunately, at that time, because I had no idea, I translated it as my own insecurity or my own thoughts.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So when you become aware of the fact that you can pick this up from other people, it really changes things a lot. But it does take a level of mindfulness and awareness of your surroundings and beginning to pick up on patterns, like pay attention to if you're sitting next to somebody who has an anxiety disorder or something, and you begin to get a knot in your stomach for no reason, you're not worried about anything, you don't have anything pressing on you right now, but you feel anxiety, it's pretty likely that it's coming from the person that you're near. And, I think a lot of people will begin to recognize that once this is in their awareness. So it'll be interesting for your listeners to kind of see, as they go about their lives after listening to this show, the examples of how this shows up now that they know this is a possibility. But, the physical sensations aren't really the only way this would show up. Like I said, sometimes it's thoughts, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's a vision you have, sometimes it's almost like hearing a voice telling you something. So depending on how you learn and how your brain works, it will show up many different ways. And for me and for many, many people in our culture, the physical is the most intense and easy to kind of figure out and follow once you know that it's there.
I'm looking at your site. It says that you were controlling, obsessive, negative, and depressive for 3 years straight. So let me ask you something about that. What got you to that point? And then it says it took another 3 years to get out. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yes. So, all my life I have been obsessed with romance, love, sex. It's just been, my super focus. And I found that every time I would get into a new relationship, I loved it. It was fantastic. I just adore that new love feeling. And then whoever I was with would always be the first to stop that phase. They'd always get comfortable before I would. And, really what set off this particular 3 years of misery was that I had a particularly strong connection with somebody where we connected on a soul level immediately. But as soon as we got serious with each other, things shifted intensely and immediately. Like it was, one day to the next, complete difference. And I spent 3 years trying to change that person. 3 years trying to make them be the person I thought that they were when we first got together. And after about the 3-year point, I realized this is ridiculous. I cannot go on creating this level of misery for myself. This just is not going to work. So what is the common denominator in all of my relationships where this dynamic has occurred? And it's not the people who I was in it with. It was me. And so I knew at that point that I was the one creating this dynamic in my relationships. There was something in me that was off, not in the people I was with. So I then began, quite a journey. I wanted to do something for me because previous to this, my entire life always depended on what my romantic life looked like. So I decided I'm going to just do something for myself. And I took a Reiki class. And as soon as I was activated to be able to do Reiki, I could feel the energy in my hands like a ball of electricity. And I said, oh my gosh, this means there is something else, and this is what I was supposed to be doing. So I began reading every self-help book, every metaphysical book, every spiritual book that I could get my hands